Greetings, my people. Greetings, my people. Today is, what's today? Tuesday, February 13th, 2024, 8:02 a.m. And I titled this one Forced Positivity and Denial. And I'm going to start off by what I'm talking about with forced positivity. Um, I heard someone tell me a while ago something called toxic positivity. And I was like, what's that? Toxic positivity. Interesting. And in my opinion, whose opinion? My opinion. In my opinion, they are the same because um we have a tendency to stay in this box, right? And what I mean in this box of emotions. And like I talked about in my last video, in my last trauma video, was dealing with certain emotions, rationalizing, right? And in this forced positivity, this is how some, not all, feel like we come together. And in the comments, like I said, I'm always open to comments. You tell me what coming together sounds like, right? Because love is an action, right? People say it all the time. People post it. People write it. People get cards, buy cards about love, love, love. But love is a verb, right? You also have to show love. You can tell a person, hey, man, I love you. Hey, baby, I love you. But there are certain actions, right? And what bothers me, and in my opinion, why we are stagnant and a black movement that's not moving, is because, like that rationale, we stay in this box where we think things aren't supposed to be confronted, right? Now, I'm a big proponent of it ain't what you do, it's how you do. And sometimes things can become tiring. Don't get me wrong. Because like I said, in my last one, in the white ice is colder, is that we think white people don't beef. See, these are because we don't go outside of our box, right? So we think now there are certain things that you don't see other races openly do. But what's the root word, key word in that? Openly. Doesn't mean they don't do it. But everybody is the same in a sense, but different. Everybody has their beef. Everybody has their issues. I watched the Young Turks channel talk about the Democrats and the Republicans. I watched them call certain people on Fox Sport, I mean not Fox Sport, Fox News, idiots. I'm talking about going at them hard. But how much do we really pay attention to white people in their beefing situation, right? Because the way the media use us is pretty much like I said, Nana or wise teacher Malcolm said, the media, if you're not careful, the media will make and I'm paraphrasing, the media will make the good guy the bad guy and the bad guy the good guy. And what do I mean by that? Because the media has the ability to shape narratives of how we look at people, right? Including ourselves. And in this shaping the narrative of how we look at people, okay, like Taylor Swift, it showed her as the darling, right? The darling of the NFL. And I knew nobody was gonna speak on how Travis Kelce pushed Andy Reid. Now, what do we think that would have been if that would have been Draymond Green pushing Steve Kerr? Hmm? What do we think that would have been if that would have been an Antonio Brown? Or Richard Sherman? And the reason I'm bringing up these old players because these are players that the media didn't like. or Marshawn Lynch. Let's say let's say when Pete Carroll blew that Super Bowl because he decided to throw rather than hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, right? Same scenarios. Let's say how would it have been looked? How would it have been looked at if Marshawn Lynch would have pushed and assaulted Pete Carroll the way Travis Kelce did? But again, the media and their darlings don't speak on that. So just because it's not spoken on or because it's not highlighted doesn't mean these things aren't happening. I'm saying this to say that. Doesn't mean these things aren't happening. But what I want us to grow from, this is not a shot at anybody. Like I said, I'm pretty direct. This is not a shot at anybody. This is open dialogue. I'm learning. I'm growing. And one thing I will not do is stagnate my voice. One thing I will not do is box myself off because how people feel. We feel talking about certain things are negative. We feel talking about Ron Karenga and the things he did to those sisters, torturing them like that, will have a bad look on Kwanzaa. Instead of looking at the things he did. That rationality, that anality, and that minimization, because we don't want to look at the stain in the carpet. But in that balance of putting that balance on the scales, you need strong voices, just like you need other voices. I'm not going to say weak, because that's subjective, right? But they are less likely to speak on stuff in a weak manner. I will say that. But certain voices are needed. Certain energies are needed. This is why we have different signs: air, water, and fire, and earth signs. Everybody can't be fire. Everybody can't be earth. Everybody can't be water. Everybody can't be air. Right? So getting back to what I'm saying, like toxic or forced positivity. I'm gonna give you a good example of, like I said, we are that's still people. That's still your mother. No matter how she treats you, that's still your mother. She could have been terrible to you. You still got to love her. Your child is homosexual. You still have to love them. It doesn't mean I don't love them. But you don't have to, you can have a difference of something. You don't have to accept everything. That's still them. You're gonna have to still love them. That's still your father. Even though he might have abused you, he might have touched on you. That still, see, these are the things that keep us in these toxic mind frames. Keeping us in a low vibration. Because we feel like we still have to always do. We feel like we always have to put on a smile. We always have to show our best. This is why I like social media, but I don't like social media. Because social media is a real world, but it's a pretend world. Because guess what? Everybody's always trying to put on their Sunday's best. Everybody's so motivated. Everybody's so going toward their goals. Everybody's so committed toward liberation. Everybody are these healthy vegans. Everybody is living their best life. Everybody is in the best shape. But why are we still behind in the war if everybody's up and like this? Like, these are real questions. If we have all the answers, why haven't we solved the problems? See, one thing about me saying earlier about love being a verb and an action, how good are we at communication? And I ask this all the time. See, one thing, you can lie to the world, you can lie to the internet, but deep down, do self analysis. You don't have to put it in the comments. Like I said at a lecture I was doing one time, say it to yourself. I forget what I was on. I think I was on the podcast with my good brother Siraj and Sheena, and I was talking about things like this. We're all these in tune Africans, right? Oh, we get our message from the cosmos. Oh, we know the hypotenuse of trigonometry and Deuteronomy and all of this stuff, right? And all of this stuff, right? But if you know somebody is hurting, do you call them and check on them? How much do you say, hey, sis, I ain't want nothing. I'm just checking up on you if you know somebody's sick? Hey, bro, yo, man, I ain't want nothing. I know you was going through something, bro. I was just calling to check and see how you doing. Hey, bro, I know this time of the year kind of hard for you, bro. You all right? You need somebody to talk to? Hey, sis, I know you've been going through it. These are actions. We think we're going to be able to post our way to freedom or liberation. We think we're going to be able to post our way to liberation. We think we're going to get something trending. We want to look like we're doing the right thing, right? We want to look good in photos. We want to stand with our fist up. We want to hold up our healing crystals. Nothing wrong with these things. But what are the actions we're following up with? We're saying the youth is watching, but how much do we conversate with the youth? Hmm? How much do you how connected or in tune with the youth are we? And when I say we, I mean individual but collective. Because it's not one specific person I'm talking to. I mean talking to myself. I have to get better with communication. See, that's the thing about when you're speaking truth. It's not personal. It sounds hella personal. Because what's that saying? Remember they say when you pointing one finger, it's three pointing back at you. So that's that balance on the scales. I could get up here and act like I'm all pious and sanctified, and I'm all triple African. But who am I when I get off of this microphone? As they say, when you get off your soapbox, who are you? Are you somebody that people can call on? There was a brother that posted a post. Good brother Sunday posted a post, and I can't remember what it says, but he said post this um if you're, and I'm paraphrasing, please forgive me if I messed this up. But he was like, if you are a person that's basically like available and and there for people at any time. Forgive me if I messed this up, right? That's like real love. Or are you a person that when somebody calls you, you watch the phone ring? Never knowing what your brother or sister might be going through. Or are you a person that don't even call somebody back because you don't feel like it? That doesn't mean you got to take every call. That's not what I'm saying. But we have to learn balance. You have to have time for yourself, but you got to make time for people. If you're saying you for the people, you have to make time. You never can give the people more of you than you give you. Am I making sense? But by God, you can't just come out and deal with the people when it's convenient, when it's time to sell something, when it's time to look like we're ready. Everything's not going to be positive, just like everything's not going to be negative. Everything's not going to be love, because for love, there's hate. Hate is a necessary emotion. I always say confronting doesn't always mean physicality. It's like I said, if you know somebody that's representing something that you love dearly, it's misrepresenting. And you know you can't talk to this person in private. You know you can't. We see, we always say, talk to them in private. Talk to them in private, because this is what we've been trained to do, stuff behind closed doors. Now there is, like I said, in that balance, there is a time for everything. There is a time to say, yo, call the person up. Yo, don't put that out. Don't go there like that. But what do you do when you can't get that person? When, like I said, you've been trying to talk to your mother who's been negative and who's been uh in denial of what she might have done to you. We're so busy worried about how, this is another thing that we have to shed, how white folks and others look at us. Judge Mathis said in response to Monique that this is an embarrassment. This how everybody looks at, how we're being looked at. But like I said, we can have examples like Sexy Red, who talks about all kind of stuff. We can have Lil Nas X, that's getting hit from the back from the devil, and just, you know what he on. We can have continuous amounts of black males in dresses. We can have tap dancing black males like Stephen A. Smith, who, whenever a white person runs an offense, whether it's Jerry Jones, whether it's Travis Kelce, whether it's Josh Giddey, who they still haven't spoken on, they never say nothing. They never say nothing. Like I did a video on my TikTok, and I said, black men, we have to use our voices for better. We have to use our voices for better. We can listen that black males run down black females all day, and that's okay. But the moment you speak in an empowering way, and the moment you speaking on somebody that's revered, oh, that's negative. Oh, that's terrible. No, sometimes it's necessary. See, that discernment is gonna let you know what's what. Because sometimes it is unnecessary. Because when we look at platforms like Sinetta that once started out good, but then went to a shit show. And then it branched off into people like Garfield. And it branched off into people like Bobby West. That instead of became the informers of information, they became something else. They began to war on they began to war on the ancestors and make it seem like they were the premier scholars. But we don't check this. We don't check this because we've taught we are taught to have tunnel vision, that we just looking for positivity. See, that's the stuff that the youth is seeing. How they're talking about John Henry Clark. How they're talking about Sheikh Anta Diop or Joe, however you want to pronounce it. How they're talking about the ancestors whose shoulders we say we stand on. We owe it to them to correct it, right? We owe it to them to correct it. They can't defend their names. They can't defend their names. We have to. But you have to be aligned with yourself to know when it's necessary and when, you know what, man, that ain't even worth speaking on. But we can't keep playing this game. We can't keep playing this game. Like I said, we want to look like we're doing the right thing. We want to look like the image of happiness. We want to post pictures of happy black couples. I always say we should be having gatherings of healthy couples teaching the youth, teaching other couples. But you know what we have a lot of? People not wanting to learn from other people, from us. Because in this conscious game, everybody knows everything. Oh man, I know that. Oh man, I know that. And nobody wants to learn. I know a lot, but I have brothers and sisters that teach me something new every single day. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm okay with being one of the smartest people in the room. Because guess what? What I might cover in my level of expertise, another brother or sister may have something that I know nothing about. See, it's just like when we're looking at organized sports, right? The Chicago Bulls, the 2000 Lakers, who are my favorite squad, the Lakers and their dynasty. We knew that um, Derek Fisher, Ron Harper was on that first team, also that first Lakers championship team, also. But we knew Ron Harper, who was also on that Bulls team. But we knew Rick Fox. We knew Derek Fisher. We knew they weren't as talented as Shaq and Kobe, right? But that didn't diminish their roles. We knew that they weren't on those guys' levels, but it didn't diminish their importance. Because guess what? Some of those games wouldn't have been won without Big Shot Bob, Robert Ory. I remember a couple of games where Robert Ory saved the day. I remember watching Derek Fisher save the day with a timely three. I remember watching B.J. Armstrong. I remember watching Dennis Rodman. Because it's about knowing your role. Where do you fit? Even if you are a star, sometimes you may have to relinquish your role. Hey, you ain't got the shot going, play some defense. Be willing to do something else. But now we're so caught up in ego that, oh, they're not you're not on their level. You're not on my level. Levels vary, man. In my opinion. Whose opinion? My opinion. But it doesn't negate the importance. Like I said, for people that'll see this video in the future, what does coming together look like? Don't give me some random. We got to start thinking about the answers we give. Everybody can't come together. This is what we got to understand until we solve problems. The Bloods and the Crips have been trying to come together for the longest, and they keep showing this. Well, let's use um O Block and 63rd, right? Let's use them. let's use the STL set versus that, right? How they beef in Chicago. Um, got O Block versus Tuckerville, right? And one thing about Charleston White, I might not like you, but I'm not a hater. If you say something correct, I'll say, okay, cool, that is correct. He said they've been dissing Tuka. They've been saying stuff about little homie. So when we saying come together, are we saying just us as conscious people, just us come together? Or are we talking about a coming together of all of us? Because until you fix who killed somebody's cousin that they ain't got over, and in retaliation, they killed somebody's sister that they ain't got over, you can't just bring people together because you want to look happy. You can't bring a mother and a daughter together when that mother has wronged them. You know, I saw something interesting before I wrap it up because I be saying I'm not gonna do these long videos, but I'm feeling more comfortable with. I'm starting to understand. I saw Miss Monique's oldest son, and Miss Monique, you gotta fix this. All that stuff you talk now, I respect you, but what that young man saying, I'm not gonna say if, because I don't think that young man would get up there and lie like that. But let's just say, because like we say, alleged. Let's just say, if what your oldest son is saying, like you told Shannon, you got to fix that. We can't support you until you fix that. He's saying you're not in you wasn't in his life. You didn't pour into him. You didn't pour all that love that you're saying into him. So he can't just come together with you. Because like what that young man was saying in his TikTok, he was saying neither side has an interest in talking to each other. Listen to what I'm saying, y'all. Like I said, if I'm making sense, tell me. If I'm not, tell me. Tell me where you think. But don't give me a nonsensical opinion. But you can't just bring people together that got legitimate issues. We have legitimate issues as Black people. We have been traumatized. We have been turned on each other. We have been pit against each other from the first encounters with Westerners or Yurugus. So, like in that Willie Lynch, which y'all say, well, you know the Willie Lynch, and I guarantee you, somebody gonna get in my comment. Well, you know the Willie Lynch wasn't real. You know Willie Lynch. God dang it! Listen to the making of the slave. I don't care. That's the stuff we get into. Is it this? Is it that? Because it's the perspective. We want to argue because here we go again. We want to show that we the smartest person. When they say light skin versus dark skin, and then we have colorism. The female slave versus the male slave. Then we have battle of gender. We got this gender war. We can't just bring men and women together without fixing the issue. We have to have a goal. Coming together, okay, what are we going to come together to do? Like I was saying to one of my brothers, I see my brother in here. My brother been in here for a while. Yo, okay. And in coming together, and that's my brother that I was saying it to. I think we was on a live. And I said, okay, if we are to come together, what is the goal? If we say, okay, hey bro, come over my house. You and whatchamacallit, come over my house Saturday at 2:30. What are we coming over there to do? Oh, we just coming together. What are we coming to do? Well, we just gonna get together. It's not organized. They're not just gonna come for something that's up in the air. Does it make sense what I'm saying? We have to have a concrete, attainable goal, y'all. Who pours into these women? We talk about the lack of femininity in young girls, but who's pouring into them? We talk about the recklessness and the lack of masculinity and the recklessness of young men, but who pours into them? Who talks to them? Or do we talk about them? You can get mad at the message all you want. Not gonna help. It wasn't until I signed up for therapy, and I'm not gonna stop talking about therapy. Black men get in therapy. Black women get in therapy. Buying crystals is not gonna help. Just like y'all tell them when y'all want to talk about Christians and say praying to Jesus and this and that, you have to help you. A therapist is not the end all be all, but it's a starting point. It's a step forward. I still have hard issues that I'm working through. So, like I said in my last video, I'm not gonna say I'm I'm not gonna say that. There's not one perfect person here. So, but perfection is not the goal. That's another deflection. Are you working towards being better? I tell my grands, I tell my grandson and my granddaughter, but mostly my granddaughter because she's always with me. I say practice makes better. And it was an OG old school that told me that. And when he told me that, I probably was like 25, 25, 26, give or take. And he was a musician. He was a world renowned musician. And he told me, he said, practice don't make perfect. Practice make better. Because no matter how much Kobe Bryant practiced, and everybody looks at Kobe Bryant as the symbol or the staple of hard work, right? Dedication. But how many perfect games did Kobe Bryant have? But how many games was he shooting shoddy the first couple of quarters, and then he got better going on and closed out that quarter, closed out that game like a grand champ. Practice makes better. When we set our mind up and start talking about perfection, you are already doomed because you're chasing something that doesn't exist, or if it does, it's temporary. You might have got a perfect score on the test, but you're not going to always get perfect scores every time. You have a perfect moment. You can have a perfect night, but you never will have a perfect life because of balance, positive and negative, which is the theme of this. Positive and negative. Try starting your car and the positive cable isn't hooked up. Only the negative cable. I am a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic. So if you can do it, tell me. If I'm wrong, correct me. But can you start your car without both cables hooked up? I know zero about. See, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not the smartest person in the room. So if I know what I know, but I got a brother or a sister that know about cars, why the freak would I be under a car? It doesn't make sense what I'm saying. Why the freak would I be under the car? Because um, I'm a man, so I'm supposed to look like I know how to fix cars. Mm-mm. Know your lane. Know your lane. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much the gist of my message. Um, no forcing positivity. No forcing anything. No forcing negativity. We have to understand these things are necessary in life. Sometimes you got to be tough. But sometimes you have to be loving. Sometimes you have to wrap your arms around a person and just give them a hug. But then sometimes you got to give them a harsh truth. I'm not gonna say hit them because you don't want nobody hitting you. I don't want nobody hitting me. But we have to learn that when something is necessary, call it for what it is instead of what we want. We can't just put a skirt on it and expect it to be okay. We have issues. Black males have issues. Black females have issues. Like I said in my last video, it's not one that has more than the other. We are all significantly effed up. Some are working toward clarity. Some are working toward healing. And some don't want to hear nothing about no healing. They don't want to hear nothing about nothing. But faking it till you make it, that ain't it. It's going to keep another generation. And guess what you're going to do? Pass it on to your children without no instruction. And that's what we have done because that's what the generation done. That's what my parents did. Love them to life. Because that's what their parents did. Fix the generation. If we really understand the things that we post, like really internalize the things we post, and we say, black sheeps are the curse breakers. You understand that? Do you understand that assignment? Like they say, they understood the assignment. Do you understand that assignment of breaking the curse? That means dealing with the things that cursed us. Not ignoring them because we don't feel like dealing with it. Because guess what? Once you confront it and deal with it, no matter how it goes, you're going to feel better at the end. Because guess what you can say? I tried my all. You can't control the outcome always. But you can control the effort. So on that, I'm gonna end. On that note, I'm gonna end. I'm gonna say peace, and I'm gonna say love. I'm gonna say words like compassion, understanding. These are things that we need in the black community. Protection, guidance, transparency. These are the things we need. Because we're misguided. We're all lost trying to find our way. Everybody. My bro, he'll always say, and this is why I respect my bro. He said, "No, hey, none of us got more than the other person. Might be a little bit more financially stable. But when that pandemic happened, it showed everybody was in the house. There was some people that was traveling. But majority of the people were shut down with the world. No matter who you were, no matter if you were African, Hebrew, Moor, it didn't matter. So it's okay to have your differences. But we gotta have understanding in those differences. And before we can come together, we gotta have understanding. Like I said, you just can't bring somebody mortal enemy, somebody that has wronged somebody in it. Talking about, well, we want to get y'all together because we want y'all to be happy. No. You even got to go to both sides and say, yo, is it okay if I set up this with y'all? Is it okay? Because guess what? You'll end up ruining yourself trying to get in there and fix something without a clear level of understanding the instructions. So I'm gonna end on that note, and I'm gonna come back with more. Peace.